Admiral Willis out of here.
Ow!
You got an empty chamber in that gun.
Ow!
Put an empty chamber in that gun. It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot. Oh, you got... Oh! Oh, you're gonna die. You're gonna die.
Bang! You can't kill me!
Come to Mau!
All right.
Mau!
Call of Duty is one of the biggest video game franchises. What started out as a simple premise, an historical FPS series taking players on historical adventures across some of the greatest battles, wars, and military operations in human history, over time has evolved into one of the greatest entertainment platforms of all time. Even to this very day, the franchise's dominance has shown no signs of fatigue, which is obviously due to the fact that its multiplayer component is simply one of the greatest creative design formulas ever made in gaming. However, one of the franchise's top pillars of quality is its campaign mode, which I would argue gets far too overlooked.
Now! You can't win, Rourke. It's over.
Sure, you would play the campaigns once, maybe twice, and go straight to multiplayer and likely never go back, considering the Call of Duty campaigns are basic, simple, and pretty straightforward with not a lot of variety to them. But in November 2010, that changed forever. I'm not going to mess around with this one because Call of Duty Black Ops isn't the kind of video game in general with which one screws. It's quite simply one of the greatest Call of Duty games and campaigns ever made. A big, completely captivating story employing a perfectly judged combination of suspense, mystery, action, tension, foreboding, bravado, memorable characters, and an iconic musical score to weave a spell that's just as potent now as it was a decade ago. So without further ado, let's dive into what makes Black Ops so special and why it was so goddamn good.
It never gets old. Overwhelming, isn't it?
Not yet.
Black Ops was the 7th title in the Call of Duty series and the 3rd title developed by Treyarch, and it served as a sequel to the 5th main installment World at War in 2008. Like all Call of Duty games in the series, with the exception of this one, Black Ops was set and built in real-world events in our human history. Set in the 1960s during the Cold War, the game follows a studies and observation group and CIA operative named Alex Mason as he attempts to recall certain memories in combat in order to locate a numbers station, since this station is due to transmit numbers broadcasts to sleeper agents who are bound to use a chemical weapon across the United States. Over the course of the story, Alex Mason, who is strapped to a chair in an interrogation room filled with monitors, gets bombarded with questions by 2 unknown interrogators, where he then recalls several events from his past in an attempt to answer their questions, which sets up all the missions in the game. With scenes and set pieces taking place in a variety of different locations, like Cuba, the Soviet Union, the Pentagon, Hong Kong, Laos, Vietnam, and even the Arctic Circle, which was all new territory for the franchise. Unlike its Call of Duty predecessors and most of its aftercomers, which all told stories with characters about different nations in war and military, Black Ops was about covert and secretive missions carried out by military organizations and governments known as Black Operations, hence the title. Intelligence or military activity carried out in such a way that the operations and actions goes unnoticed by the general populations or specific enemy forces. In other words, military activity that is carried out hidden or in secret. This, along with the combinations of the Cold War, the Vietnam War, as well as continuing a story from a previous game, was a great creative concept that made Black Ops into one of the most unique games in the series. something Call of Duty fans as well as all fellow gamers alike had never seen and experienced before. But what really transcends Black Ops, despite its unique real historical events, people, and concepts in its fictional world, is its execution. Black Ops' narrative is a very cerebral psychological thriller where players have to piece all the information together to find and discover the answers. Unlike most Call of Duty campaigns which are straightforward and pretty predictable, Black Ops' campaign was puzzling and convoluted. The entire story is told completely out of chronological order while bouncing back and forth between the present and flashbacks. A concept being a first for the franchise at the time, since Call of Duty has never done a complex narrative before. It's quite a phenomenal method of storytelling if done right, and Black Ops nails it perfectly on the head. The campaign is brilliantly paced, cramming an amazing amount of plot action, character development, and exposition, and never feels rushed or incomplete. Neither is there a single scene or piece of dialogue that feels soft or unnecessary.
We are in grave danger from the communists. Our freedom, our very way of life is at risk.
Black Ops doesn't waste any time getting straight into the action, going back and forth into the mind of its protagonist. The first two acts of the story are consistent and connected until the ending of its second act. The campaign does something unexpected and delivering arguably one of the greatest plot twists in video game history. It's also amazing how easily and effectively Black Ops' campaign switches gears and entire genres. The campaign starts out as a straight-up spy action thriller with a lot of the classic elements that you would expect. A protagonist with a diverse team of serious tough guys with unique skills and personalities, with a simple objective with plenty of action, mystery, and intrigue, with growing suggestions along the way that despite everything moving forward, it is not quite what it seems, and something else is going on. And when the story switches briefly to another character known as Victor Reznov, taking players back to the time of World War II, it takes a sudden turn into psychological noir territory. That this particular character who the protagonist was close friends with might be more significant than meets the eye, and it's helped by smart writing and restrained use of the character. Speaking of character, Black Ops has some of the strongest, distinct, well-rounded, and well-developed characters in the entire Call of Duty franchise. And the script of Black Ops never drops the ball of balancing them. You get the impression that these guys are smart, professionals, and have been working together for a long time, and their camaraderie, banter, and friendships feel natural and believable. Characters that are old, grizzled, molded by hard and brutal worlds and tough life experiences. Every character has their own unique personalities and outlook that shapes their decision-making and never sugarcoat things. Frank Woods is a belligerent, brave, sharp, unapologetic soldier who tries to never show any vulnerability and makes decisions, and as a result, he sacrifices himself tackling one of the villains, strapped with grenades to his chest out a window to save his comrade's life.
Woods, you look like hammered shit.
Looks don't count for shit in the jungle. This is nah, baby.
Jason Hudson is the smart, well-balanced leader of the cast. He's experienced and good at his job, while also being one of the more open-minded, willing to contemplate that he is dealing and fighting a threat that he has really never encountered or handled before, with a refusal to accept defeat. Alex Mason, the main protagonist, is kind of the bridge between the two men. He's the voice for the player, and despite being brainwashed, he's an absolute warrior, willing to give his own life to serve his country, keep his fellow comrades safe, and get revenge against those who committed injustice against him. And over the course of the story, he's forced to rise to the occasion and overcome what has happened to him, defeating the ultimate threat. It's a great character arc, and it's helped by a very good voice acting performance from Sam Worthington.
Reznov! Where are you? Reznov!
Victor Reznov, who returns from World at War, dials everything up to 11, and his character arc transcends in this game. You just can't take your eyes off this guy when he's speaking, due to a brilliant performance by screen actor Gary Oldman, creating some of the most memorable moments, as well as a line that'll be immortalized forever in Call of Duty.
My name is Victor Reznov, and I will have my revenge!
He just knows the job in hand and he gets the job done. He's got a fire inside him and is on the side of the just. I've not done a Vietnam movie, so this is my Vietnam movie. Kind of.
The villains in Black Ops are also very good. They're smart, vicious, and brutal, and you really grow to hate them. Major General Nikita Dragovich is the main principal villain, and not only is he integral to the plot, he is a commanding force that, despite having very little screen time, casts a shadow across the entire campaign, and that it's a race against time to stop him and his evil plans from succeeding. Dragovich being the smart, sinister, cruel, and devious, Lev Kravchenko the physical powerhouse, and Friedrich Steiner, the infamous scientific mind, talented and ingenious. And each of the three classes of bad guys show up and do their own thing within the world of the story.
Dragovich, Krashenko, Stein. All must die.
Black Ops' cutscenes are also brilliant, not because they are really awesome visually, but as I mentioned earlier, it's execution. The cutscenes in Black Ops are montages of images and films of real historical events that overwhelm the player as well as the protagonist. The effects are disorienting but informative at the same time, and it gives a very visceral point of view perspective. That we are in Alex Mason's shoes, experiencing these memories, including his PTSD, and every frame is the player a part of the action.
Where is the number station? How many times Steiner was at Rebirth Island? We had to kill Steiner.
And I've gone without mentioning one of the best qualities that wraps everything up that makes Black Ops so impressive is its score. Black Ops' soundtrack plays a very fundamental role to the spirit of the game. The score of Black Ops is hybrid with influences from a wide array of musical styles, with a great fusion of orchestral symphony and hard rock. A level could begin with an orchestral harmonization melody, could just as soon present players with adrenaline-fueling rock or guitar solo. The music of Black Ops breaks its conventions and is able to define its own unique musical identity. It has a hybrid score that seamlessly blends together, with a complex puzzle of all sorts of different pieces that players themselves get to unknowingly put together. Call of Duty Black Ops' score embodies everything that sets this game apart from the rest of the games in the series. It's an excellent score that's guaranteed to get stuck in your head. Not to mention, the game also got licensed Cold War Vietnam era songs to be put into the game as well to add to its real historical value.
And I even gave Wood some badass guitar here and there, and that just it just helped the nature of his character. But that was it.
And who played that badass guitar?
That was James Burns.
No, it was you. I suck on a guitar. No, you're the guitar player, dude.
Yeah.
For me, what also enriches Black Ops and puts this Call of Duty game in a league of its own that the rest of the games in the series have not been able to match or replicate, at least in fashion, is how you ultimately view the characters, which depends largely on your own perspective. You could choose to see these characters as honest soldier anti-heroes working and fighting against the largely corrupt and evil worlds, good men putting their lives on the line to correct a world gone bad. Or you could view these characters as violent, angry, and vengeful people who resent the fact that they are not celebrated or respected for their services and are being used to do someone else's dirty work. To do jobs for a nation or society that doesn't really give a shit about them just as long as the job gets done. It's smart and thought-provoking, and it leaves you to consider who the bad guys really are. And if you really think about it, this is a common theme in the entire Black Ops Call of Duty series.
Can you trust your leaders to destroy it? Or do you think they will use it? The flag may be different, but the methods are the same. They will use you as they used me. You must decide. Decide what you think is worth fighting for.
On the surface, Black Ops appears to be a straight-up spy action thriller about a man who has been brainwashed to recall certain memories in order to locate and stop a bad guy from killing millions of people. But if you care to look a little deeper, then you start to see the complexity, the creativity, and the sheer thought that went into crafting its story and characters. For example, like me, the final mission and battle of Black Ops' campaign, although basic, it has some spirituality to it. The Razulka is like a representation of hell, and for its protagonist Mason to finally be at peace, he must descend into the darkness, being the underwater submarine base that lies beneath it, to vanquish his demons. And to be frank, Dragovich is pretty much the devil in his presentation and demeanor, which is nothing short of wicked from his introduction to his defeat. And when the confrontation is over, Mason escapes the base back to the light being the surface, the devil beaten and finally free from his programming curse. The final minutes of Black Ops' campaign is dark and gloomy, with an archived footage sequence revealing that Alex Mason was present during President John F. Kennedy's assassination, which is shocking and very interesting, while raising the question that despite being free, he still may have carried out his initial programming.
Tried to turn me against my own. Tried to make me kill my own president.
Tried?
Treyarch did a great job of gelling all together its ideas, writing, characters, concepts, and using real historical events without sacrificing too much historical accuracy, perfectly woven into its fictional story, creating a seamless end product. Its multiplayer component as well was also fantastic and one of the best, polished, and most satisfying experiences in the history of the Call of Duty series, including maps. Even its Zombies mode, which was a secret mode unlocked for completing the World at War campaign, return and evolve into its fun, intense, addicting, and awesome very own experience.
Outside. That's just a good time.
Black Ops is an absolutely classic video game, with a campaign that is written sharp, with gritty, authentic characters, with effective twists and turns, crafting a gripping, compelling, and thrilling narrative, with the addition of its historical context that gives it another layer of remarkable impact. It's a video game that gets basically everything right, and it's Call of Duty at its absolute best. And if you haven't played Black Ops, I suggest you pick one up or dust off your copy and give it another playthrough for old time's sake. You'll probably be surprised by just how good it is.
011. Every journey begins with a single step.
24. 11.
This
1.
is step 1!